Welcome back, guys. This is FrostPunk, the Seedling Arks scenario. We've been chosen to safeguard a priceless treasure, the seeds and seedlings of plants from all over the world. They've been deposited in seedling arks to stop them from freezing, but it falls to us to build a city to protect these precious buildings until the winter ends, however long that may be. The only way to do this is with automatons. We'll ensure the green earth is reborn, even if we aren't there to witness it. Let's get to work. Factory plans. We reached a generator site and the seedlings are safely stored in the seedling ark. We were supposed to deploy automatons to make sure the city can run itself no matter the weather, but the transportation carrying the factory plans was lost in a blizzard. We need to build a beacon and send a team to search for it. The seedling arks. Preserve the seedlings. We must ensure that the seedling arks don't freeze. All the seedlings and many of the tropical seeds are very sensitive to the cold. If the temperature in any seedling ark falls below chilly for too long, its precious contents will be irreversibly damaged. So yes, these are the actual seedling arks. These are what we need to protect. We have a total of 4. They currently sit at livable, and going below this, chilly, this is as low as they can go, so if they hit cold, they'll start to falter over time, and we definitely don't want that. We have 1 automaton available to us, this little guy right here, the Superior Pharos. So I'm basically going to do a run where I complete this entire scenario with 0 deaths and reading out every encounter that we come across. These guys are not happy that I set the law for overtime. We need it, unfortunately, but that's just the way it goes. We are in a situation where the early game matters so much later on. We will not be able to complete the entire scenario without making early sacrifices. First things first, I need a workshop and I need a medical post. People will get sick all the time. But our population in this scenario is not too high, so if we have at least 1 medical tent or medical post going at all times, we should be fine. I'm gonna go ahead and have these guys work an emergency shift. I need 1 more tent. The good thing about this scenario is the fact that it's a lot shorter than the new home scenario. The problem is, because it's shorter, you have to make sure you get all of your progression lined up on certain days. And if you don't manage to actually hit certain milestones with your resources and your overall tech, you won't be able to do literally anything, and in fact you could fail the scenario, and it's actually not too difficult of a scenario, but the issue is this one really needs you to focus on the automatons. So you have to get the factory plans working, and that's tier 3, and automatons are extremely expensive, so you also need to make or find many steam cores. So not only do we need to have our scouts go find the factory, we need them to we need them to also go out into the world and get us plenty of resources, because all of the steam cores that we need are not craftable. We have to find them. There is a good amount of them into the world. Go ahead and do extended ship, but I'm not going to do this until the very next day because I don't want to work anybody to death.
New law in the city.
Let me just go ahead and do this real quick. First things first, beacon. We want to get this up immediately. But yes, getting all of these resources in order, having as many people working as efficiently as possible. Even though we only have 46 people available, we need to make every single person count as much as possible. And we do have one automaton working day and night, and that does help out with the progression. The only issue is there's going to be an encounter later that reduces what we can do with the automaton. But that's fine. We'll deal with it when we get there. But for right now, we're in an okay spot. I'm not trying to change the name.
Move! Time to get to work.
One of the main things that we're going to have to do is set it up so that our automatons can work by themselves. That will be a requirement for later. Right now, our only requirements are to find the actual factory plan, so we need to research the beacon and actually find the factory. And it's not that far away, but if you were to goof around and not actually prioritize looking for the factory, you could easily fall behind and not make it to the end of the scenario. Right now we're in a pretty good, okay spot. We have plenty of wood. Our coal is only going to last a day, but that's fine. We have several coal piles here, 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 and here. So we're good for a little while. Now in a normal scenario, you would want a steam or coal thumper. But in this one, you want to try to go into actual coal mining. It's a little hard to make a coal thumper work with the automatons because you need 2 of them just to operate one. The efficiency is not really good. So going into tier 2 drawings as soon as possible is very much recommended in this scenario. But for right now, all we really need is a sawmill and steamworks. And then we'll go into the next tier, and that'll be good enough for us. And because we want this built as soon as possible, let's just go ahead and have these 5 people get off from steelworks, or steel wreckage. And we're going to go ahead and have them build the beacon. 2 of them are sick, but that's fine, because they'll still work. That's why we have our medical tent up immediately. That way we can get them recovered and rested and ready to go. We're still at only negative 4 degrees Fahrenheit, so it's not too terrible. It's pretty bad, but it's not too terrible yet. Everybody has a house. The discontent is only up because of the emergency shifts, and that'll be there for a few days. We'll be fine with that. We won't have to worry too much. If you look closely, you can already see people working on this, which is nice. They're going back and forward. This will probably take all night, but in the morning, it'll be fine. Oh, that's not what I wanted. I'll have them work here.
Night is coming. Put down your tools.
Now we have a ton of wood on this side, so we're not going to have to worry about getting a wall drill until later. But we will need one, because it's a lot more efficient to have an automaton on a wall drill versus a steam sawmill. But for right now, we just need it. We don't even need to upgrade the blades. We just need a level 1 sawmill. Beacon built. We're no longer lost and blind. From now our people will be able to survey the icy barrens that surround us, Frostland. As you can see, we have our abandoned supplies here. A few white mounds stand out in the otherwise flat landscape. We left some supplies there on our way from Britain. And because we have 5 people available, we can go ahead and make a scout unit, because we have what we need, and we're just going to send them on their way. Storm on the horizon. Captain, with the beacon operational, we can clearly see the storm approaching from the south. It's still some distance away, but we better keep an eye on it and make sure we set up the infrastructure needed to heat the Arks before it hits. So this is another thing, the difference between New Home and here. In a New Home, that storm doesn't happen until way later. But in this scenario, we get it so early that we know better to prepare.
Listen, everyone. New law is signed.
Also, I signed into law Fighting Arena because in this scenario we won't have access to faith or order. We're just gonna have the normal adaptation laws. So we want to have people being very hopeful and have their content reduced as much as possible, which is why I had the 10s structured like this, because all of them will be getting the bonus from the fighting arena. Because if you do it wrong, it'll miss one of them, and it doesn't make too big of a difference to be at 80% versus 100%, but it still helps out a lot because your hope meter will be a lot higher and you won't have to worry about it too often. So these guys are on an expedition. We're not going to have them out the whole time. And I probably should have swapped who was going. But they'll be fine for right now. Because they're going to come back with the factory plans and then I'll disband them eventually. And now that we've gone Fighting Arena. Fighting Arena has been established in accordance with the new law, Hope Rises. People are already participating, and it was just built. But yes, these guys are going to come back, and eventually we will start building automatons. Probably not right after we get the plans, but we will maybe a day after. Also, it's been almost 24 hours, so we're going to go ahead and have the workshop working extended shifts. Our discontent is low enough now that we have our fighting arena built, and our hope is high enough that they will not feel stressed out while working, so we won't have to worry about them protesting the overtime shift, at least for right now. And if they end up doing it, we can ignore it, and it won't have too bad of a consequence. We can just go ahead and speed it up real quick to the next day. Okay. So, right now, with the way the seedling arcs are, they are fine for the moment. We won't have to worry about the temperature. The temperature will drop, but they're at a livable temperature. And even if it drops one level, it'll just go to chilly and we'll be fine. But if you see here on day 6, early in the morning, it'll drop another one and then we'll be at cold. So we do need to have at the minimum a heater or maybe a steam hub if you want to get that started. I think the heater's a little bit more fuel efficient early on. It won't be as helpful later, but it'll be good enough for right now. And it'll buy us some time. I think the longest you can go without heat for the seedling arcs is maybe a full day, probably a little less, but even then, if chancing is not really a good idea, you'll have the potential to your people going to chaos, and they're just gonna be discontent like crazy once the seedling arc starts going down. And another thing that I forgot to mention, if you notice here, we only have engineers on this expedition over here. Because the only reason we would want pure engineers and not workers is we're trying to build as many automatons as possible. So if we had workers and engineers, we'd have to divide the labor, and they wouldn't be working as effectively as just having a whole team of engineers, which is why we don't have as many people available. And there's also no children in this scenario, so we don't have to worry about that either. Let's go ahead and do steelworks. And then I will go to drawing plan 2. Let's get this set up. About right there. And another thing I'm going to do, I'm going to put a gathering post right here. So that'll be good for right now. And once this wood crate pile is done, I'll have, oh, right as I said that, I'm going to have the automaton work on purely just coal, so I won't have to worry about them running out of coal anytime soon. We don't have any heaters or generators. We also don't have level 2, a level 2 generator, so we don't have to worry about that. Okay. Recovered treasure. We spent hours hacking at the ice to free our supplies, but we didn't. We were forced to abandon them once. Doing it again would be unforgivable. Sites discovered broken automaton and industrial ruins. So, as you can see, this one's highlighted. So this is the direction that we came from. We came from London, London on this side. So we had to follow this line in order to get to our factory plants. Broken automaton. A large snowy dune covers a broken automaton that we had to leave behind during our journey from Britain. 14 hours to arrive. So we're still on schedule. Oh, that's right. I say that, and right as I say that, we have not made a cookhouse, and food will definitely be a huge issue later, and we'll see why with one of the encounters. But I need to get food going. We have a good amount for the people that we have. 90 raw food rations, and that'll be roughly 360 just making normal food, which will feed everybody for a couple days. Okay, we have people that are not working. Just gonna have them work on that wood pile right there, then I'll have a couple of them work on this. And we don't have to worry about anybody starving right now, even though people are hungry. They're not starving, so we're okay for right now. So tomorrow everybody will be able to eat, and that'll extend out our rations just a little bit longer. We have our steelworks research, so now we're going to do drawing board. We're eventually going to need both of these up and running. For right now, we're just only going to need one.
Time to rest, folks. Work's out for today.
So people are starting to get really hungry. Okay, that ran out of coal, so we're going to have him sent over here. And we're also going to move around our labor so that everybody's working efficiently. And we definitely don't want anybody working in the cold now that the temperature is going to permanently drop to one more level. So this is about as warm as it's gonna get in the beginning, and then we'll have to deal with it constantly being chilly everywhere. So as you can see right here, standard meal will produce, oh, it's less than I thought, 4 food rations from 2 raw foods, so I was wrong. It'll be 180 is what we'll get. Okay, our scouts got to keep the automaton. Malfunction repaired. This automaton was left where it broke down. Thankfully, we managed to dig it out and fix it. We can now send this fully operational automaton to the city. Sites discovered: Lost Dreadnought and Mountainside Cave. Lost Dreadnought. A shape looms in the distance, clearly visible on the white plain. It's the main vehicle from our expedition. 13 hours to arrive. And this is going to be our second automaton. We're going to probably have our expedition force reach this and get to the city just before the automaton actually reaches the city, but that's fine. We are still on schedule. Okay, we're gonna move these people away. And we have 5 people who are gonna be building the actual steelworks. And then we'll probably have some people working on this coal pile right here, just so we can keep it going. But we are still in a really good spot. Nobody has gotten gravely ill or anything like that. We have plenty of wood on this side, we have plenty of resources on this side. We have our steel works available. So I'm gonna have this automaton get off of that and work on steel. It's a lot better to have the automaton working on a constant resource like a coal mine, steel works, or a wall drill. That way you don't have to constantly move them around. So at 7 o'clock, the temperature is going to drop. So as you can see, the ceiling arcs are still okay because they're at chilly. But if it drops any further lower than this, we're gonna have a problem. So right now we're okay, but within 2 days we have to have heaters available in order to offset the temperature difference. So everybody's hungry right now, but we have the cookhouse going. 16 food in an hour. And we might have them go to an emergency shift, not emergency shift, overtime, if we don't have just enough, but right now we're okay. Now the next thing I'm going to have, and this one's a little controversial, but a public house. And how does this work? Is we just need one person running the public house. Everybody will get to go to drink and relax after work. And the best part about it is it doesn't matter where it's at, so long as it's in the city. So I'm just going to put it right here. And we only need one person available working on it. So I'm going to have these guys not do anything so they can finish building it, and then I'll have them work on this coal pile. And once we get more automatons, we'll be able to have more of our people working on research rather than just purely working. We'll have our automatons take care of all of the work, which is the whole point of this scenario. We need to make our city self-sufficient. We're almost done with our factory plans research. Once these guys get to their destination in 5 hours, we'll be right as rain. Drawing boards 2. now we're gonna have coal mining. We gotta get this up and running as soon as possible. It's really inefficient to have a coal thumper, and I'd rather just have a full-time team working on the mine or an automaton dedicated purely for the coal, because having a coal thumper just takes too many resources away, and we don't have that available in this scenario. So now we're out of food rations, but this will buy us at least 4 days of time. So if you notice, we don't have any workers, and I know I mentioned that earlier, but the problem with not having workers is we don't have access to a hunter's hut, so we have to research a hothouse in order to provide food for ourselves, which is why they gave us so much food in the beginning. We had to come to the conclusion of that ourselves, but they gave us plenty of food in order to figure this out and not have a problem later on down the line. Okay. Our expedition's main vehicle left helplessly wedged in the crevice. Exploring it will be difficult, but we have to find the factory plans that are aboard. Factory plans. We rappelled down into the crevice, listening to the ominous sounds of the ice cracking underneath the weight of the steel behemoth. After an hour or so of searching, we find the documents safe and retrieve the factory plans. We must get them to the city as fast as possible. The weather is getting worse by the minute, and we need automatons to secure the city and the seedling arcs before the storm hits. Sites discovered. Empty shelter, lone boulder. Okay, we're gonna have these guys get to the city. And this is what I was mentioning before. Funny enough, our scouts are gonna get there 2 hours before our automaton, which is hilarious because this thing moves slow as hell. But that's fine. So within 20 hours, we'll have our plans ready to go. Our public house is almost done being built. Factory plans found. Excellent. Now we can start setting up the automated infrastructure to keep the seedling arcs at a safe temperature. Bring back the plans, set up a factory, and increase the number of automatons to 3. So right now we're at 1, but this makes 2, so we need to physically create 1 more in order to make 3. And that's not enough to complete the scenario. We are going to have to make plenty more. But this is just to get the tempo of the actual scenario going, so that you understand that, okay, I have this many to work with, now I need to make a few more. And the scenario gives you plenty of resources and plenty of time to take care of the seedling arcs themselves. But there's another situation that will occur later. The seedling arcs may freeze. Captain, in a few days the temperature will drop. Our seedling arcs will be in danger. We have to keep them warm with heaters or steam hubs. So even these guys are acknowledging the fact that within 24 hours, or yeah, a little bit over 24 hours, about a little over a day, we will be forced to put heaters on these or they will suffer. But that's why we have these guys working overtime, because it gives us just enough time to research everything we need. So now we're going to work on our heaters. It brings our temperature up 1, and it only takes 1 coal per hour to run, versus a steam hub which uses 3. We will need steam hubs later, but the heaters will do just enough for right now. So let's get our coal mine started. This is showing us that we're using our first steam core, and they are not in abundance, so we have to be careful with how many we use. So we need 1 person working in the public house. Public house has been erected in accordance with the new law. People are anxious to let off steam. In the new house of respite, hope rises. We're gonna have these guys gather coal. We only need 1 person in the public house, so we're fine. We don't have to worry about this ever, so long as we have at least 1 person working. they will almost always be okay and probably never get sick so long as we keep the temperature up at least livable. Chilly is fine, but livable would make it so that the actual patrons are going to be satisfied with the conditions, overall increasing our hope and lowering our discontent. Even though we have these guys working permanently and or semi-permanently, eventually this will turn off. Our discontent is lowering because all of their needs are being met. People are hungry, but we're feeding them all. We have one overtime work, but everybody's happy enough to ignore the fact that overtime work is being done. That doesn't improve their physical condition, but it does let it so that we don't have to worry about them being dissatisfied.
Hear me. New law
And
in the city.
this is pretty much just when people are eating soup, they don't get as angry. But people eating in general during mealtime, they will just be overall more happy because they have liqueur. Who doesn't like a nice stiff drink after a long day? So we still have 12 people who are hungry, but we got plenty of food. We still have about 4 days of ration. This technology tree for the heaters will be done probably midday. And we have plenty of coal and everything that we need in order to sustain ourselves. The next automaton that shows up is going to go straight to the coal mine. That way we have a permanent source of coal. We still have one more steel wreckage here. And eventually we're going to have to move this sawmill up, but they're making plenty right now, so we will not worry about that. We also have 5 people who are just not working, so we're just going to have them work on the coal. Our very next resource is going to be the hothouse. Scout Unit number 1 has returned safely to the city. They're bringing us all these resources and the factory plans. So we're gonna go ahead and, for some reason these guys got better out in the Frostlands. So I'm just gonna go ahead and send them back out over here. Industrial ruins. The ruins of a large industrial building buried in the snow rise over the horizon. Take 20 hours to arrive. So now we have our factory. We're just gonna go ahead and plop it down. We're gonna put it over here. And we're putting it over here because eventually we will need steam hubs, and we want everything to be somewhat close to each other so that we don't have to build too many. Okay. Alright. That's good enough for right now. Our heaters are at 70%. It's still only 10 o'clock, so that'll be done around, I'm gonna say 2. Maybe less. 12. And our automaton's gonna show up in a little bit. It's almost here. I'm gonna go ahead and speed up the clock right now. We have plenty of steel, which is great. But one of the things we need right now are another sawmill. And it sounds weird, but we have plenty of wood on this side. It's more efficient than having it over here, because this is such a small area and it's really cramped. So we're just gonna have them slowly work their way out over here. Yeah, I was right, about around 12 o'clock to get our heaters researched. So now we have to work on our hothouse, because eventually we will run out of food, but for right now we have just enough. And here we go. Our automaton showed up, and this is just the little tutorial tip. So we're just going to go ahead and put this guy over here, and now we don't ever have to worry about having coal, because he will constantly be extracting coal, and we can always upgrade this later if we need it. Automaton reaches the city. Sir, an automaton has reached our city. It's fully operational and ready for work. We're still in a really great spot. Hold on. The The Automaton Project. Fundamental research. Sir, an engineer is asking for a day off to study an automaton closely. The automatons can be improved. They may be the pinnacle of our technology, but if we learn how to make them, we can surely learn how to make them better. If I take a closer look at any machine, I can adjust it to improve its performance. Why should it be any different with them? Now, this is a tough decision because you'll be down an automaton while he's working on it, and he's also going to be asking for many things. I have found that just having them get back to work and not messing with the automatons is a more consistent route. So I'm pretty much going to ignore him and just tell him to get back to work. But yes, right now we are doing fantastic. We have our other automaton going to our coal pile, or not a coal pile, a coal mine. And we have one working in the steelworks mine. We have another sawmill being built, and everybody's pretty much hopeful. Nobody's discontent or anything like that. We have lots of food. We have our hothouse being researched. We have our next cold temp drop tomorrow, but we're good for right now.
It's time off.
Okay, I will take 5 of these guys because we're not hurting on coal. Even though it says about 3 days, we have plenty, so we're not going to worry about that. We're going to have these guys work on the automatons immediately. We have 5 steam cores and enough to make 2 of them, so long as we don't build too much. It cost 100 steel, 100 wood, 50 coal, and 1 steam core. Now we have our hothouse research just in time because they were just about to go get off of work. They worked just a little bit longer just to complete it, but that's good for us because now we don't have to wait till tomorrow to build it. We could just build it right now. And I'm gonna go ahead and put it right here. No. Yes, I'm gonna put it right here. Eventually I'll get rid of this sawmill, so that's fine. That way I can put another one there. And the next thing I want is more scouts. We have a large amount of resources, or not resources, locations to discover. This is only a small fraction of what we need to get later, so we're gonna need scouts as soon as possible. And in my opinion, this is the soonest you can get them, right before day 6. Or right after day 6, so they still gotta do the research. Yes, we got plenty of steel, so I'm just gonna go ahead and have this automaton work at the sawmill, not the sawmill, the hothouse. Oh, it's not built yet. I thought it was built. Crazy. But yeah, I'm gonna have him work at this hothouse. That way it's constantly operational, working day and night. Now they're only 60% effective, but even at 60%, they're still doing quite a bit throughout the night, which kind of offsets the difference, and we can improve the efficiency later. But for right now, we're just gonna leave them be and have them work where we need them. Industrial ruins. The building was destroyed by a powerful avalanche. Its interiors are filled with snow, but we should still be able to retrieve some resources. Buried alive. We discovered a bounty of resources as we dig through the snow. Sadly, that's not all we find. An avalanche killed everyone who worked here. Their corpses have been frozen solid. The relatively light clothes and the insignias of Her Majesty's Prospectors Corps suggest they were explorers sent to north to look for suitable places for generators during the onset of the Great Winter. Maybe it's for the best that they weren't there to witness the fall of the Empire. And we're going to get 200 coal and 141 steel, which is a good amount. We're going to send these guys straight back to the city. The steel is very vital for the automatons. We're not going to have anybody work in the steel mill until we build our next automaton. So we're just going to go ahead and leave that empty because we have people on the way. And now that it's 7 o'clock, our temperature level is going down. The seedlings are in danger. Captain, the temperature of one of the seedling arcs has dropped too low. If we do nothing, its precious contents will be lost. We mustn't let that happen. But we don't have to worry about that because all we need to do is turn on the generators, and that fixes the problem. And as you can see here, there's a little timer. It doesn't tell us exactly how long we have, but if this goes all the way down to even a third of this, the seedlings will be in danger. We'll lose all of it. So we always want to keep them above 60%. Preferably never having that go any lower than 90%, because it might get away from us if we are not paying attention. But it's back to Chile, and that will go away in just a second. There we go. And this seems like a great place to leave off on. So I'm going to go ahead and stop here. We have our basic resources set up. We have our factory built and people working on them. We have explorers out in the wilds coming back with another set being ready to go out there. We have food being made permanently. We're going to have to raise the hothouse temperature. And we have much more to come. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I'll catch you all on the next one.